Hello, and welcome back to Let's Get Lit. In today's episode, we're going to be going over parts 1 through 3 of the student's tale. In this tale, we're going to see a king marry a wife and test her through years of different types of punishments or adversities that she has to face. So, are you ready to see the first part of this story? Then let's begin now, shall we? The prologue begins by the host looking over at the student, telling him he's not heard a single word come from him all day. That the host thinks that, you know what, it's now your turn to tell us something. He asks the student, though please do not tell a lofty verse or metaphors, but to just give us a tale that's fun and interesting and that's not really preachy, but also won't put them to sleep. So the student agrees and says, I've got a tale for you. One that was told to him from a patriarch. And that if they will all listen, he will gladly retell it as best as he can. And that's where the prologue ends. Part 1 of the story starts out in Italy, in a small region known as Saluzzo. There was a lord whose name was Walter, and he was a very kind and very just king. He also was unmarried, and this worried a lot of his nobility and commoners. One day, a flock of his nobility came with him with troubled hearts and asked Walter a question. Their request was that the king should be married. They asked this because if the king were to die, then some strange prince would come over and take over their land, and they didn't like that idea. However, if he were married and had children, then his lineage would keep on and they would be able to be ruled by this fair and just king's family. They even agreed to try and find a wife for him. The king listens to all of the people, and finally, by understanding, he agrees upon their request. However, he said that he will find his own wife. He also says that if he finds a wife, all the nobility and commoners must agree to treat her as if she were the daughter of an empress, and they should respect his decision. If they did not, then he will not get married. All of them overwhelmingly say yes. And the king sets a date for which he will be married on. All of his servants then take the task of planning and prepping for this wedding. This is the end of part 1. Part 2 starts off in a small little village near the castle in an oxen stall. In this stall, there was an older man and his daughter who lived there. The daughter's name was Griselda. She was beautiful, not only of face and feature, but also of temperament, and she was really smart. She was a wonderful girl who took care of her father and all of his needs of old age. The king, who is to be married, had seen her several times before while they were riding about, and saw all of her features, both of beauty and of heart. And he thought to himself that if he were to marry, she's the one he'd like to be married to. The day comes and it's time for the wedding, and all the townspeople are super excited and stand by the doors to see who the new queen will be. Griselda, who is at the well fetching water, quickly hurries home so she may finish her chore and wait by the door to see who the king is going to marry. As she's inside taking care of her father, the king comes to her door and tells her he needs to see her father. She takes the king inside, and the king asks her father, "May I have your daughter's hand in marriage?" The old man responded that whatever the king would like, the king may have, because he's such a gracious and really kind person. The king then responds that he would like to have a conference with both the old man and daughter and himself, so that way everybody's on the same page and understands what's going on. They invite Griselda in, and the king tells that he would like to have her hand in marriage and ask if she would willingly become his wife. He also asks if she would be gracious in all manners and hide no ill will in her heart towards him. She agrees, and he asks her for her hand in marriage. She accepts, and before she is taken to the castle to be wedded and to feast, the servants the king had brought redressed her from head to toe, cleaned her up, and got her ready for the wedding. The king and Griselda are soon wed, and they are enjoying their feast. The narrator goes on to say that soon after she bore a daughter, and that while the king was gone, Griselda was able to keep court and was able to settle any disputes that happened to come her way. Through her actions, news quickly spread of her good deeds and of her great beauty, and her fame quickly grew throughout the region. This is where part 2 ends. Part 3 begins with the king coming in and telling his wife that he is going to make sure there is no doubt that she loves him. The king leaves his wife and goes out and tells one of his officers that he must go in and take the child away from her. The officer goes in and tells the queen that he has come for the child. She believed the officer had come in to kill her child, so she makes her prayer to God that the child's soul should go to him, and kisses the child and hands the child over to the officer. Once the officer leaves, he tells the king everything she had said of the prayers and blessings she made, and the king says to the officer, go take this child to his sister, the aunt, in Bologna, and that she is to raise the child as her own, and to make sure the child grows up in a noble fashion. He also tells the sergeant that he should tell no one what he's doing. The narrator also makes comment that after this happened, the wife does not treat the king any differently, does not even speak of the daughter in any word, and continues to love and praise her husband. This is where part 3 ends. Join us in the next video as we go over parts 4 through 5 of the student's tale. Have a great rest of your day. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and as always, stay lit.